Hi, my name is Katy Williams.
And I'm Debbie Ohl,
Our presentation is over Competency 6.
which is the teacher understands strategies for creating an organized and productive environment for managing student behavior. So in other words, classroom rules and management. All right, creating classroom rules. On the first day of school, we should allow students to help create classroom rules as opposed to having them already posted. This will help build a sense of community, and the teacher should contribute as well. Also, according to our book, it states that students are much more likely to respond appropriately when they feel that the teacher respects them as individuals and truly cares about their well-being.
Here are a few things you should consider when creating classroom rules.
The first rule is to state rules in a positive format, such as walk in the hallways instead of no running in the hallways. This is better and more positive, and you should never start a rule with the word no. And also with our picture, it's good to move from place to place in a quiet manner than when you're really noisy and really loud.
The second thing you should consider is to limit the number of rules to 5 or fewer. Like in our example, the classroom rules with 10 is too many for the students to look at. It's good to concise them and use 5 or fewer.
Our third and final rule is to use broad categories, such as respect the rights and properties of others, covers many behaviors including listening attentively while others are speaking, not borrowing materials without permission, and waiting for your turn to use equipment. As you can tell in our picture, our class rules are short and to the point, and they cover many different things. Alright, on the first day of school, we need to make sure to discuss and explain the rules and expectations on the first day of class. Teachers should spend as much time as necessary to ensure that all students understand what is expected of them and reteach as necessary.
Accountability. Make sure students understand what is expected of them. Model this behavior and have students sign a code of conduct. It's also a good idea to send this home for the parents to sign as well. This way, the parents and the students are both held accountable for the rules. According to our book, never think that the time spent developing the awareness of what is expected is wasted or can be put to better use.
Let's be consistent teachers. Being consistent requires a system of rewards and consequences. Teachers should strive to use intrinsic rewards, however, they may need to use extrinsic rewards at times. Also, inconsistent teachers lose students' respect. It becomes impossible to build and maintain a strong sense of community in such an environment. Remember that a reward must be meaningful to students for it to work.
Encourage students to practice self-discipline. Rules are necessary, but it's also a good idea for students to be able to discipline themselves. Allowing students choice and input in the establishment of rules is one way to help students develop self-discipline. Another way is to teach life skills. Teaching emotional awareness lessons are important also. These teach students to learn to control their impulses, recognize their feelings, and monitor what those around them are feeling.
Remember that the best way to maintain discipline is to maintain interest. Students who are actively involved in learning activities seldom create discipline problems. When students come into the classroom and find interesting and motivating assignments ready, and when the routines and procedures are familiar to them, they are much more likely to begin and maintain working.
It is very important for teachers to be able to distinguish between minor distractions and truly disruptive behavior. Problem situations are those that interfere more than casually with classwork and progress, that have a strong potential for impeding work or damaging feelings, or that involve intentional violation of class agreements or rules.
Next, we will discuss how to handle minor disruptions. Calling attention to minor disruptions can draw attention to an individual and away from the learning environment. Although some students are embarrassed by this focus and will stop misbehaving, many students who are seeking the attention and power are getting it from their teacher in this manner. The lesson will stop and all eyes turn toward the student and the behavior. A good technique when discovering this is the creation of an invisible student, in which the teacher continues to ignore a minor behavior that is annoying.
Teachers must remember to reinforce desired behavior also. All of us want to be successful and accepted by others, and students are no exception. By acknowledging and praising positive behaviors, teachers reinforce them and increase the chance that students will repeat them. However, a teacher's praise must be genuine and never manipulative.
Teachers should avoid ineffective disciplinary practices. Teachers should know which practices consistently don't work well in the classrooms because it can help them to create better practices and because teachers can still widely use these. Some examples that we will discuss are vague rules, ignoring misconduct, inconsistent response to misbehavior, punishment that is excessive or humiliating, and the overuse of teacher sanctions.
The importance of clear rules becomes obvious when observing the ineffectiveness of rules such as be in the right place at the right time. This can be confusing to students because it's not specific enough.
Both student behavior and attitude are adversely affected when teachers ignore violations of school or classroom rules. Unless a teacher is targeting a specific student to extinguish attention-getting behavior by creating an invisible student. Using the invisible student is a great way of ignoring small misconduct.
Ambiguous or inconsistent responses to misbehavior. Classroom discipline is generally poor when teachers are inconsistent in their enforcement of rules or when they react in inappropriate ways, such as lowering a student's grade in response to misbehavior or blowing up and jumping to harsh consequences. A great example of this would be, "Oh my gosh, you students are awful! You're all failing and I quit!"
Punishment that is excessive or humiliating or that is delivered without support or encouragement for improving behavior. Among the kinds of punishment that produce particularly negative student attitudes are public punishment and corporal punishment. Our picture is a great example of corporal punishment.
Avoid the overuse of teacher sanctions. Sanctions is another word for disapprovals. Teacher sanctions discourage group cooperation in finding solutions to problems.
We will next be making a list of our classroom rules that we have made. Also, on the first day of school, we will show our students list, and if we need to make adaptations or modifications, we will contribute both the students and us teachers together and come up with a new set of rules.
Rule number 1. Be respectful. This implies respecting yourself, others, and others' properties. RESPECT.
Rule number 2 is be prepared. This means being in your seats, homework already